Live. We're going live. Hello, welcome, welcome. Let's just give folks a quick second to join. As always, part of my 90-day commitment to going live. All right. Okay, hi guys. Yes, part of my 90-day commitment to going live. Happy freaking Friday or whatever day it is that you are watching this after the fact. Can we just give ourselves a collective, oh, thank God it's Friday. I mean, I start my Mondays by saying, happy one day closer to Friday, which makes it sound like I don't love what I do for a living, but I also just love getting to the weekend because I think that's the day where, or those are the days where I can finally give myself permission to not feel guilty about work, which sounds like I maybe need to rewatch my workaholism episode that I did yesterday. But because today is Friday, that means I am sharing the weekly lesson or lessons that I have learned or attempted to learn. It's not going to take very long, so just stick around. All right, so here was the lesson that I learned. I am in the interminable 2-week waiting period from insemination to discovering if I am pregnant, which will be on April 29th, if anyone is curious. It's always a very weird thing to share when you're not really supposed to quote share, right? Like if you're pregnant, you're supposed to, I'm going to keep putting these in quotations because what the heck is like should or supposed to mean? But technically, most people don't really share if they're pregnant until at least the first trimester is done, right? So that's about 3 months of waiting to tell anybody. In typical Claire Wasserman fashion, I'm just telling people when I got knocked up. So that was about 5 days ago. So that means I have to wait 2 weeks to find out if I'm pregnant. Here is the lesson that I have learned. That's really hard. I have been given basically one job, which is to try to not be stressed. Well, when somebody tells you don't be stressed, you're like, okay, well now I'm freaking out. No, but seriously, that has been my full job in this entire process is if I want to get pregnant, the best thing I can possibly do is to create a stress-free environment for baby. Now, the big question, that I got asked was, any travel coming up, anything major stressful going on in your life? And the answer is no. However, in my attempt to be as stress-free as possible, I have noticed that there are so many moments throughout the day that cause stress. For example, there are fruit flies in my house. They are driving me insane. My Amazon package that I have been waiting for has been delayed. The cost of a trip to Italy that I'm making with my family was a lot more than I was expecting, which then has triggered some shame I have about our business doing better. Things like going to get coffee this morning, and you know how much it cost? $7. Okay. I mean, the coffee was good, but was it $7 good? I don't know. But again, my job for this week is try to be as the least amount of stress as possible. That means every time that I encounter these experiences of stress, I have an opportunity to decide whether or not I will accept it as stress or not. Meaning, it's not that the experience, oh, your coffee was $7 too. What is going on? I guess people's rent is going up, is what's happening. Okay, so it turns out I'm not actually experiencing moments of stress. I have just decided to respond to those moments with stress, meaning it's not the experience in and of itself, but instead a reaction to the experience. So now I've had to untangle for myself, okay, when I'm experiencing things that then trigger stress, I want to really decipher what are all the ways that I am making my life worse for myself, okay? Things like a coffee being $7. Yes, that sucks, but I can choose whether or not I want to indulge this debate about how stressed I am around it, right? Or, for example, I had a big dip in mood the other day. I've gone down on my medication, been really happy about it, but then I had a big dip in my mood and I started to get really worried. Do I need to go back on my medication? What does this mean? Wait a minute. My job right now is to be as stress-free as possible. So can I experience a dip in my mood without coming to any conclusions about what it means? You've heard me talk about this in previous lives before, I think, where one of my goals for this year or just in life in general is to just hold things in perspective more, to really, recognize that I can contain multitudes, right? An experience could suck, but I could also not indulge the suckiness of the experience. I could, yes, look down at my body and note that I'm making a judgment about it, but not then go down the path of spiraling about my body, right? Again, we may not be able to control things, but we have responsibility to determine our reaction to them. Okay. And it's funny, I was looking back in my journal and I wrote right after insemination happened a week ago, I said, I'm not going to think about it until April 29th. And I just laughed at it because who am I to declare whether or not I'm going to think about my pregnancy? Like, it's, I think, the coming to conclusions about ourselves or about the world that actually is when we get in trouble. By the way, if all this sounds insane, that it might be because I'm still in the process of processing it. But I've been quite inspired by Glennon Doyle's podcast and her recent episodes of talking through her own recovery. And I think there is so much to be said about not presenting things when they are wrapped up in a bow to the world as well. It's sort of like what I'm saying right now is, as I'm experiencing things, to not try to come to any sort of like decision around even how I feel about it. So I would say, when I look back at that journal entry where I said, I'm not going to think about pregnancy until I take the pregnancy test, which is laughable, what might be a better way to have phrased it that maybe gave me more options, right? To allow myself to evolve, right? Something that maybe took away the agenda of it. And it could be, here are ways I'm going to try not to think about it. Or, when I am stressing about it, how am I going to slow down the stress? I kind of think of it like a 5-alarm system. You experience something, it triggers stress, but then wait, that then may trigger other thoughts, feelings, conclusions, etc. Right? So how do we just, at least for ourselves, recognize when the 5-alarm system is happening and not allow ourselves to get so caught up in it, right? And maybe even laugh about it. Could we find humor in it? And one great way to do it, I find, is to just, I call it, expand the container, right? Because you feel so caught up in the feeling or the thought, right? That stress, the trigger. Just breathe into it and just allow your body to get bigger, okay? Or imagine that you're kind of like water on the rocks. Now, on the other side, right, when I've been tasked with create a stress-free environment for the baby, okay, there's one thing to reduce stress, but how about let's add in rejuvenation? And I'm not talking about going to get a massage or doing all those things, but in finding moments of rejuvenation, what things are already happening in our day that we can then embrace as, this is helping me be less stressed. The way the carpet feels under your feet, okay? Or when you're walking down the street, and notice when people smile at you, and then you may realize actually you were smiling first, right? Or the sun, the way that it's glinting, right? All of this is mindfulness ultimately. But again, it's the moments. If life is lived in the moments, we really got to break this down for our stuff. And so one thing that I found a little bit, and just in conclusion of, sharing my weekly lesson, one thing that I found a bit ironic was was preparing for today thinking, wow, this is somewhat profound. This is a lesson that I learned. And then I looked at my tattoo, and my tattoo says, this is my tattoo. It says, it's all good. And I got this probably 7 years ago. It's all good, which to me was my reminder of letting things go, not getting caught in the spiral of stress. So this weekly lesson I share with you today, I thought it was new. No, turns out I've been trying to learn this for years. But sometimes these lessons, they may be the same lesson that takes on new forms. And based on what you're going through in your life, right, it will, appear in different ways and, open up your mind in different ways just because you're more ready to receive it, maybe. Well, that was a whole lot of rambling for hopefully moments of wisdom. As always, like to share things as I experience them in the hopes that radical transparency makes you remember that you are not alone in whatever you are experiencing. Let's process the process together. Follow me on Instagram at Claire Gets Paid. And of course, join the Ladies Get Paid community at ladiesgetpaid.com. Most importantly, you got this. You are doing a great, great job. You really are. You showed up today. You showed up for yourself. Be proud. Again, we are processing the process of life. Okay. Much love. And I will see you at the next live, which I do Monday through Friday at noon Pacific time, in a 90-day commitment to more follow through, more lessons, not necessarily because they're so wise, but because I'm living them. And I'll see you next time. Bye.